Welcome to the Sunday morning worship service of DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church in Naperville, Illinois. I am Diane K. Gelder, a member of your Board of Trustees. We are so glad you are here. Whether you are present in this sanctuary this morning or watching remotely, it is so good to be together. We welcome you to our church and invite you to get to know us better after the service. To keep us all as safe as possible, we ask that you remain masked. Those of us on the chancel will remove our masks to speak from the microphone. As Unitarian Universalists, we hold that there are many paths to truth and meaning, and we support one another on our spiritual and religious journeys while holding ourselves in covenant. The rich liberal legacy of Unitarian Universalism is rooted in our faith's 7 principles. These principles guide our faithful actions as we work to transform the world to be more just and equitable. You may find these principles listed on our website or on the wall in our social hall. Whoever you are, wherever you are on life's journey, wherever you are in the world, you are welcome here. I invite you for a moment to say hello to someone that you did not come with. Greet them with a wave, a good morning greeting, and in general, shout good morning. And now, folks, if you'll all take your seats. Once we get going, we don't stop, do we? I'd like to invite Neil Lichtman to come up and tell us about a meeting that we are having on December 11th. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Good morning. Good morning. I'm Neil Lichtman from your Denominational Affairs team. And for those who heard me last week, and you're going to hear me again next week, this is a slightly amended version. First, it's important to say again that with Reverend Mandy here, it's a new day for denominational affairs at this, our congregation. To start, Reverend Mandy wants our delegates to General Assembly to be deeply prepared to vote the will of this congregation on all known issues as we come into General Assembly this June. In order for our delegates to be prepared, we need input from the entire congregation on some changes and decisions that will be made at this coming General Assembly. You may already know there is an important meeting here on Sunday, December 11th from noon to conclusion, to which I am inviting you. It is our first step toward Reverend Mandy's vision. The subject is to review the work of the UUA Article 2 Study Commission and submit the recommendations of this congregation to the UUA, as all congregations are invited to do. So, do you know what Article 2 of the UUA bylaws is about? Yeah, right. Well, based on last week's hand raising, some of us do, most of us do not, and I surely did not until it was made clear to me. Well, we got a big hint this morning from Diane Gelder, so where would you find our official 7 principles and our sources codified? Right, Article 2 of the UUA bylaws and rules. The current Article 2, and in other words, our 7 principles and our sources, have been reviewed by a special study commission which has absorbed the thinking of a multitude of UUA stakeholders in the past year. And a new Article 2 has been drafted. Now that that draft has been circulated to all UUA stakeholders, and that includes us, now it's time for our congregation to discuss the new draft and forward our thoughts to the UUA. And each of you is invited to join Reverend Mandy and me on a guided discussion. As we move closer to General Assembly next year, there will be more opportunities to engage. But let's start with the one on December 11th. Reverend Mandy and I hope to see you there. Thank you.
I light this chalice for the sixth source of our living tradition that draws from spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature.
Many years ago, thousands of years ago, People in the Northern Hemisphere were thought to have gathered wreaths of evergreen and light fires as signs of hope in the coming spring and renewed light. The custom was kept alive by Christians, and by the 16th century, the Advent wreath had gradually spread across many parts of the world. Today, Advent is the period of 4 Sundays leading up to Christmas, and it's also the time when days are shortest and when cold settles in and when people need the cheer brought by the promises of light and warmth. As we light one more candle each Sunday, this Advent wreath symbolizes our waiting experience. Week by week, the candles remind us of the darkness of fear and hopelessness recedes as more and more light is shed into the world. The flame of each new candle reminds us that more is yet to come. This morning, our Advent wreath was lit by the Verzen family, Justin, Alyssa, and Freya. So on this first Sunday in Advent, we light this candle of hope with the words of Macrina Whitaker, a Benedictine monastic. I was just thinking one morning during prayer how much alike hope and baking powder are. Quietly getting what is best in me to rise, awakening the hint of eternity within. May this candle awaken the best in us, connect us to the eternal, and give life to our hope.
And now, please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 209, O Come, You Longing, Thirsty Souls.
Standing and join us in our shared covenant. We come together to affirm our relationship with one another, our shared commitment to our Unitarian Universalist principles, and to our DuPage UU Church community. We recognize our agency and our connective power, and we accept our responsibility to be bold and courageous in relationship with each other that will transform our lives and the world.
Sorry, everybody, I was supposed to tell you to remain standing. Each week, we celebrate the joys and concerns that have happened in our lives. Our flowers this morning were given by Joan Doyle in celebration of her granddaughter's first birthday. I don't have any other joys and concerns from anyone, so every day, in every moment, we experience joys and concerns, both spoken and unspoken. Please know that your community holds you in love, whether you have shared them with us or hold them close to your heart. And now, please join me in a moment of meditative prayer. Our words this morning were written in collaborative effort by students at William James College. And that was written by a modern person. Taking each moment one breath at a time, one day at a time. My resilience has surprised me. As I'm getting comfortable living with uncertainty, I underestimated the things I took for granted, and I crave control of the things I cannot control. But I'm trying to exercise forgiveness like a muscle, and it's slowly getting stronger. I have everything I need with me to get through moment by moment, and I warmly embrace the quiet as though it were a friend. Often when you think you're at the end of something, you're at the beginning of something else. We're at a distance, but closer than ever. We feel gratitude and despair in the same breath. We are strong, but we need each other. Your faith gives me strength to believe. So think happy, be happy. It is time to gather. I would like to invite the young and the young at heart to join me here at the front of the pulpit. Our story today is the circles all around us. Good morning, can you hear me? Yay, I see lots of familiar faces. This story is called The Circles All Around Us, and it was written by Brad Montague and illustrated by Brad and Christy Montague. We begin by drawing a circle on the ground along each shoe. Can you try drawing a circle around yourself? A safe little place for just one person. Nobody in this circle but you. You could keep that circle closed to everyone but yourself, but that would be like a library with just one book on the shelf. So let's draw a bigger circle for you and your family to share. Now you see what all can happen in a circle full of care. It becomes a happier circle as more loved ones come to stay. And wouldn't it be even better if all your friends could come and play? Would you like that? So you can stretch and draw your circle even bigger than it's been and let a few more people know they're welcome to come in. In the circles all around us, everywhere that we all go, there's a difference we can make and a love we can all show.
I love this page. Yet there are still so many outside the circle who are different in all they do. Though it feels slightly uncomfortable, we can draw a bigger circle for them too. It doesn't mean the circle is easy. It can get harder the more we share. But wonderful things can happen when love is known and felt everywhere. As time passes, our eyes open. We see others we really care for. And that's when we ask ourselves, well, what's this circle really there for? So let us create bigger circles all around us for the rest of our days. Let our caring ripple out in a million little ways. In the circles all around us, everywhere that we go, there's a difference we can make and a love we can all show. As our circles grow and grow, and we watch them wonder-eyed, remember, the first circle started with just the love you hold inside. And now please join me in singing our children out of the sanctuary.
Giving of our treasure is how we reciprocate the many gifts that we are given by this community. Your contribution helps support the programs and operations of DuPage UU Church. Giving is also how we live our values in the world, and each month we share our offering with an organization nominated by the congregation and selected by the special offering team. The special offering during November will benefit Literacy DuPage. This outreach group recruits and trains volunteers to help adults achieve their goals through accessible, customized tutoring in English. Adults served by this group may not be able to obtain English instruction in a traditional classroom setting because of barriers like cost, work schedules, and lack of childcare and transportation. This morning's offering to support the work of DuPage UU Church and Literacy DuPage is given and received in a spirit of generosity and gratitude.
Our reading this morning is Community by Rupi Kaur. When the world comes crashing at your feet, it's okay to let others help pick up the pieces. If we're present to take part in your happiness when your circumstances are great, we are more than capable of sharing your pain. Growing up has been rough. It's rough on us all. I've heard it said that nobody makes it to adulthood unscathed. Something about being in my early 20s, though, has truly brought out the worst in my ability to conceptualize my progress as a human being and as a member of society. I'm unable to see myself as having a future or a past. I am some kind of strange in-between person searching for an identity in the chaos. It is within this chaos that I return to my community for strength. These are the people who share my passion for justice, for truth, and an unwavering belief that the search for a better world starts with me. This community answers my questions and guides me to my own truths when they do not have the answers. This is my UU community. The very roots of my spiritual awakening is rooted in our community here. When I was in junior high, I participated in Coming of Age, where we were asked to go out in nature for a couple of hours to meditate. Our assignment was to think on the things we were learning about other spiritualities and religions, and to come to some of our own conclusions about the beliefs and ideals. I ventured out into the fields around the church and spread out my plastic tarp, plopping down my lunch of a few bread rolls and my yellow coming-of-age folder, curious to find what I might glean from the experience. The world around me was so pleasantly calm as I sat there. I remember gazing out at the grasses and the plants as they swayed in the breeze, eating my bread, thinking about how good it tasted. In that moment, I had an epiphany. Someone had made this delicious bread. Someone had made this waterproof tarp. The clothes I wore, the food I ate, it was all thanks to others, to the skills they had, the collective knowledge and wisdom of the human race coming together to create agriculture and ovens and leavening and grocery stores. I was suddenly so grateful to be a part of it all, to have existed in time and space so close to this little bread roll. In retrospect, the revelation seems almost charmingly obvious, but at the time, it was a deeply important one. Through high school, I would really begin to understand the struggles of being a human being. My mental health struggled, as did my grades, and I fought to retain a sense of compassion and kindness in the emotionally charged world of adolescence. I started attending RE with some amount of regularity, and it was here that I found a new sense of strength in community. My RE friends were sensitive and thoughtful and curious about the world in the same way that I was. They also lost their place in the script, just like I have. We discussed issues of compassion and moral quandaries with each other. We planned events with one another, and we shared our interests and frustrations with one another. I looked forward to seasonal cons where I would see my friends from other congregations. It was these peers that introduced me to social justice and how to navigate the complex language and structure of it. It was these peers who taught me to enjoy the things that I loved wholeheartedly and who supported and celebrated me for doing so. It was these peers who made me feel truly, deeply loved. I am the person I am today because of the foundation of love that was built by my UU community. Now I stand before you, having been away from church for several years. I've been out building a life for myself, working for rent, making doctor's appointments, all the delightful things that make adulthood so exhilarating and independent. I have moved on from the crises of the past into the crises of today, ones that I feel just as unequipped to handle as the ones I have braved in years past. But it is because I have handled these past crises that I know things are going to be okay. I look into the past and I am left with the profound realization that I am not alone. I am surrounded by people who love me. This is perhaps the most important thing I have learned from my time as a UU. I am surrounded by people who work every day to provide the world with food and clothing and peace. No matter where I go, I will always be tied to the great interconnected web of all living things, supported and uplifted by its threads. To be a UU is to never walk alone, to know that it is the people around us that make life worth living, and that life is beautiful and ever-changing. So thank you, DUUC. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for dedicating me into this faith. Thank you to all my RE friends, to my mentors, Karen Peck and Karen Campbell, and most of all, a big thank you to the things that make the grass grow and the flowers bloom. It's an honor to be a part of your community. And now, please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing hymn number 1012, When I Am Frightened.
Good morning. My name is Bob Harris, and I have been a member of our church for almost 6 years. Tony Morgan asked me to speak on the topic of how the church changed me. I appreciate the request, as it gave me a chance to reflect on this interesting topic. I experienced the church in 2 different ways. I have made it a point to both attend services every Sunday as much as possible, and now in person rather than virtually, and also I have made it a point to become involved in various activities. To understand how I have changed, some history is helpful. I was raised as what I call an indifferent Episcopalian. We went to church most Sundays, but I had no religious education. I never went to Sunday school. In fact, I never read the Bible until I was an adult, and then more out of curiosity than anything else. As an adult, I rarely attended church, although I did go to a couple of congregational churches for a year or so, but still could not find meaning in the ancient stories or the mystical aspects of the Christian faith. I often pondered, what does being spiritual even mean, and how do I get to be that way? Before coming to DUUC, over time and on my own, with my own work and with the help of friends, I came to believe that being spiritual means living my life in harmony with my best values and doing things to improve the world. Then, when I began attending DUUC, and discovered the 7 principles, the lack of dogma, and the liberal attitude of the church, I realized I had found a good fit that made sense for me. Learning of options that DUUC has shown me, I now call myself an agnostic humanist, and I sincerely mean it. If you had asked me before, I would have said, well, I'm Christian, I guess, because my parents were, and most people I know are, so why not? No, that's a little more authentic now. I even recently joined the American Humanist Association. That's a big change, led to that. On that same topic, I do reflect on the principles in particular on a regular basis. I try to keep them in the forefront of my mind throughout the week. For a few months, a while back, I journaled on one each day of the week in rotation to try really to think about how they applied in my life. I carry the lessons with me, including what I hear on Sundays, and reflect on them and discuss them throughout the week. Sometimes these have led to my learning more or additional reading. My awareness has greatly increased, and I am much more sensitive to what goes on around me. For example, when I hear that some groups of people are deprived of the rights that others have, I now feel it deeply and take it personally. It violates our principles. Finally, we have heard much in recent years about challenging white supremacy. I grew up a white, middle-class male in a stable family in a nice neighborhood in Detroit in the 1950s. I never thought about racism or white supremacy at all. The church has given me a new appreciation of these concerns. I like to think it has made me more compassionate and understanding. In short, I have changed in that I have not only learned a lot, but I'm much more aware of issues and things that affect other people. This comes about from listening to the sermons, going to the church retreats and other formal learning activities, and even from conversations with friends here at church. A second change is an enriched social life. During most of my life, I have had almost no social life at all. I was so busy with work and family, that was it. Since attending DUUC, I have enjoyed the social events we have had, ranging from auction dinners to playing cards, to movie outings and picnics with my covenant group. I have found my tribe. And the third change is that I have participated in social activism events and volunteered at church. I've made breakfast for the homeless a few times and volunteered in many ways to help the church. This has given my life more meaning. So, to summarize, I have been changed by having an enriched spiritual life, more awareness of the issues in the world around me, feeling for the first time that I am in a beloved community of like-minded people whose company I thoroughly enjoy, and doing my bit to use my skills and abilities to help the larger community. Thank you. And now, please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing hymn 1011, Return Again.
Return to where you are. I was first introduced to DuPage UU Church when Ann Arellano invited me to a counter-protest at Planned Parenthood in February 2017. I grew up going to what I used to refer to as a liberal Christian church. I grew up with female ministers who were politically liberal. Because of that, and because of my love of tradition and church services, and my love of hymns and sacred music, I never felt the need to rebel or look for a different path. However, meeting my husband Justin and entering into an interfaith Jewish-Christian marriage opened my mind to eventually finding a community where we could together be free to follow our own independent beliefs. At the counter-protest, Ann introduced me to many members of the church, one of whom, after listening to my typical spiel of having grown up in a liberal church, introduced me to the concept of religious liberalism. Because I always felt validated and lifted up that as a woman I deserved equality, that I could love whomever I wanted, I never felt like I was being put into a prescribed box. But I was. Being told that Christianity is the one true religion is being placed in a box and limiting you to a prescribed set of beliefs. I wasn't quite ready to hear that message of religious liberalism. I did not realize it was what I needed for my own personal growth until very recently. I kept using excuses that I was doing this for my interfaith family, for my husband and I to have a community where we can worship and learn together, have a community where our daughter is not forced to choose the prescribed beliefs of Judaism or Christianity. However, what I have slowly learned and more recently embraced is that I myself needed the freedom to explore faith and spirituality and the world in my own way without having a list of things that I must believe. DuPage UU has helped me grow spiritually and slowly remove myself from that religious box that I had placed myself in for so long. At this church, I know that I can be honest about my beliefs and what motivates me spiritually without being judged. That was evident in the new member class, where I was consistently at a different end of the spectrum than the other attendees when asked questions about faith. But I did not feel judged. Since we joined the church in June, I have been able to give myself the space to be cognizant and honest about myself and my mental health and other areas of my life where I've been pushed into a box. I have always had struggles that I couldn't put a name to, other than laziness or stupidity, which negatively impacted my self-esteem. A day doesn't go by where I do not lose my phone, my wallet, my keys, or forget an appointment. Always put your purse, your keys, your phone in the same place. Just write down appointments so you remember. It's not that hard, people would say. Your car is so messy. Your house is so messy. Just put things away, right away, so there's no mess, people would say. And I would panic clean before visitors were coming. But my house was still messier than most. You need to pay attention and listen better, people would say, when I would yawn and chew my fingernails in meetings and miss things that were said. You take things too personally. You cry too easily, people would say. About a month ago, at 34, I was diagnosed with ADHD for the first time. And what a joyous day that was. I feel like so many things that I always thought were these personality flaws that made me less than were finally explained. I now have names for these flaws as symptoms of ADHD. Problems with working memory, object impermanence, problems with executive function, auditory processing disorder, emotional dysregulation, and rejection sensitivity. Just as DuPage UU helped me unmask my religious beliefs, I feel confident that I will have the support of this community in unmasking my neurodivergence and slowly coming out of this neurotypical box I've pushed myself into, just as I pushed myself into what I thought was a typical religious box. Thank you for coming on both these journeys with me.
And now for our benediction, I would like to invite you all to think about how the church has changed you and how it will change you today. This is a quote by Yehuda Berg. A true community is not just about being geographically close to someone or part of the same social network. It's about feeling connected and responsible for what happens. Humanity is our ultimate community, and everyone plays a crucial role.
Please rise in body or spirit and join us in our communal reading as we extinguish the chalice this morning. We extinguish the light of this chalice, but not the light in our hearts, until we meet again. May the warmth of our community carry you.